off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
Hey, bud.
Paul O'Neill. Luke Foster.
I am your father.
Yeah, that's not your dad. I know your dad. That's not. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Ross Dellenger in 15 minutes. The Protect College Sports Act. Not dead yet, but feels like it's kind of dead. He'll give us the latest. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill is going to be here in 30 minutes. I want to talk to Liz about two things. One, they have a new sports agent registry in the state. Number one, why that's relevant. Number two, remember the Jeff Landry, Wade Roos plan that they discussed at the governor's mansion with the top 40. Part of what they're waiting on is an opinion from the IRS and the Attorney General. So we're going to have the Attorney General here and ask her opinion on that. So that's coming up in just a little bit. Let's begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, so the football Tigers were on the practice field Tuesday evening. We got our allotted 3 periods, each 5-6 minutes long. So 15, 18 minutes thereabouts. The one sort of change for us being out there was that we actually got to go watch the offensive line. So I've explained this before, but if you've ever been to the LSU football practice facility outdoors, there's 4 100-yard football fields. And they are basically stacked on top of each other. So you basically have 2 sets of parallel fields, so 200 yards, and they're parallel to each other. Well, where they allow us to stand typically is the west sideline and the north end zone. And the offensive line practices on the east field, more toward the south. So they're literally more than 100 yards away. And even if you try to position yourself between the fields, like there's a giant cooling tent and a tower where they put the video crews in your way. So you literally can't see the offensive line. Well, they let us walk between the fields now so we can go watch them. So that was helpful. I'll tell you, it was interesting because I missed a couple of practices while I was in the hospital recovering from surgery. And some of the reports were that we had seen William Satterwhite, the Tennessee transfer, taking some reps at right tackle. I did not see that on Tuesday. What I did see was an interesting way that they broke up the practice. And this really speaks to how Lane Kiffin is maximizing time on task. So we've talked about the receiver drills, for example, how at any given point you'll have all 3 quarterbacks throwing routes simultaneously. So there's just no wasted time. And what it basically allows is for every single player to get more reps in a practice than they normally would. I was actually talking to, there were 10 NFL teams represented at practice on Tuesday night, scouts from 10 NFL teams. And one of them said, I think it might have been a scout from the Texans, forgive me. It was one of the scouts who said, like, I've never seen a practice operate at this pace where all these guys are getting this many reps. So it's not just an opinion of like a novice like me going out and watching, like people who this is what they do are observing that as well, which I thought was interesting. So anyway, the way they broke up the offensive line was like Eric Wolford took the left side of the line and James Craig took the right side of the line. And so they're working on combo blocks, but instead of the other 4 guys standing around while one guy's working on a combo block, they're all going simultaneously with 2 different groups, with 2 different sets of coaches. So that was interesting. But what it suggested, I think, is maybe a little bit of a question at center, as far as the backup center. So Braylon Moore worked with Bo Bordelon and Jordan Seaton. Like that's your center, your left guard, left tackle. Undeniable, that's it. What was interesting is when the 2s went, William Satterwhite was at center with Jaquan Sprinkle at left guard and Sean Tompkins at left tackle. But on the right side, where you had Aluba and Weston Davis, it was Ryan Moret, the freshman, who was working with the first teamers on the right side, which maybe I'm reading between the lines, but that would stand to suggest that Murrill might have actually passed Satterwhite for the number 2 center spot. I don't know that that's solidified. I'm going to be interested to ask Lane Kiffin that the next availability we have. But we had Murrill in studio during spring, and he was massively impressive. He's a kid from Miami, was committed to Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and as soon as Kiffin took the LSU job, he flipped, immediately signed with LSU 3 days later, sight unseen, had never been here. He was in studio. Remember, he was a multi-time state champion wrestler in Florida at the highest classification. So that's a dude, like, I got the utmost respect for dudes that wrestle because it's hand placement, it's leverage, it's leg strength, it's power. I mean, you have an elite level dude who knows how to hand fight and control another man's body. I think you got a high ceiling guy there with Ryan Murrill. Darren Stray was the second right guard, and Devin Harper was the second right tackle. I thought that was interesting. Ed Ogeron was working with defensive tackles. When I saw him last week, he was working with the edge rusher, so he's moving around. Damian Shanklin continues to remain absent. No surprise. Hunt Palmer went and looked at the quarterbacks and receivers. He charted every one of Levitt's reps. Only one ball hit the ground. They did a goal line period, a goal to go, 10 yards and in. So period. Completed all his passes for touchdowns. Again, this is against air, so you should. But a good day, effective day for Levitt. Winnie Watkins was not there during the media period. I did talk to sources that told me he did participate in the team period. So when they kicked us out and they went team, scrimmage, portions, all that stuff, that Watkins was out there in a gold no-contact jersey. I do not know what the injury or limitation might be, but Watkins was not there. When we were out there, I was told he did participate in the team portion. Let's see, what else? Trades Green continues to wear gold. I asked a source who told me point blank, we can't lose him. So Trades wore gold all throughout spring. He's wearing gold now. There's no obvious limitation because there is no limitation. It is just it's a giant, bright sign to say, don't hit 14. And I'm going to say it again. If you live in a state where you can bet college football props, into player props, go find a sports book that will take wagers on Trades Green and bet the over on every damn one of them because they are going to absolutely force feed him the football. I think he will lead the team in targets and catches and receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. He will lead the team in everything because they have never had a player like this, and they are going to force feed him the football. Jabari Mack, the freshman receiver, was also in gold. Gabe Relaford, Aiden Anding, they're done for the season. They were both riding the stationary bike in full pads, interestingly enough. Most likely just an opportunity to have them feel part of the team, to dress out, to be out there with the guys, but they were riding the stationary bike. Relaford with the ACL, Anding with the torn Achilles. So a couple of the observations. We don't get to see a ton by way of drills. It's all individual drills. So for us, it's, chart Sam Levitt's throws, maybe try to get a sense if they go into like a team period, like an 11-man drill, you could see sort of who's ones and twos, et cetera, how guys are running. But trying to give you any sense of who's emerging or anything like that, that's more so going to be things that we're told off the record or in press conferences with Lane Kiffin than what we actually see at practice. Because while Lane let us see a lot in the spring, 7-on-7, 11-on-11, team drill, scrimmages, all of it, we're shut out of all that right now in fall camp, which I understand. Some have asked, do you think you'll get more availability as fall goes along? No, it would actually go the opposite way. So, the closer you get to the opener, they're going to scale back availability. So once they break camp, about 2 weeks before the opener, that's when they start getting ready for Clemson. That's when I'm assuming they'll kick us out altogether. So we'll continue to go with every bit of availability that we have. We will absolutely have reports up at LouisianaSports.net. I drop a lot of Locked on LSU podcast episodes. If you want to subscribe on podcast or YouTube, I'd certainly appreciate that. But if you have questions or things you want us to keep an eye on, more than happy to do that. So, quick LSU football report. They have a walkthrough today, then they're back at practice, and then a scrimmage on Saturday in Tiger Stadium, which we do not have access to. It'll be a Saturday night scrimmage in Tiger Stadium. But Tuesday was the first day of full pads for Lane Kiffin's squad here in fall camp as they steamroll toward the openers. We're less than a month away from LSU and Clemson in Tiger Stadium. All right, our show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU. They have the officially licensed cans, the cans and the aluminum bottles. You can find them out there. So if you're going to be maybe tailgating, hanging out by the pool, maybe watching some preseason football this weekend, make sure you got plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, and the official beer of your New Orleans Saints. Look for officially licensed cans and bottles at retailers near you. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. All right, it's after further review. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill in about 18 minutes at the bottom of this hour. When we come back, we'll bring on Ross Dellenger, our buddy from Yahoo. Delly's been all over the Protect College Sports Act. Coincidentally, he just happens to live in Washington, D.C., which has made covering that very easy for him. But we'll talk to Delly about that after the Senate pushed a vote to September. So what does that mean? What can they actually fix? Any of that stuff. We'll get to it, Ross, when we come back. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
I love telling you about Duplessis Pools, but I have an even better reason now to tell you about Duplessis Pools. You know, I've told you how if you go to duplessispools.com, you hit the Pick Your Pool tab on the homepage. Well, they've upgraded it. There's now a 3D modeling of the pool. So go to the Pick Your Pool tab at duplessispools.com, choose any of the designs. You're going to see a 3D model of the pool. And as you start to pick all of your features, your tile, coping, let's say you want a water wall, 4 foot, 8 foot, 12 foot, 20 foot, whatever. As you add more, you're going to start to see the price adjustment. So you can build your pool right there. And at duplessispools.com, if you get to like checkout and you want to drop a deposit in there, they'll send you a contract to where, boom, you can already be in the queue. Duplessispools.com. Look, you buy a car online, why not buy a pool online? Duplessispools.com. Check them out online. Do it right now at duplessispools.com. Glad to have you aboard with us here on a Hump Day edition of AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. The Senate has pushed the college sports bill, Protect College Sports Act vote to September. Ross Dellenger from Yahoo has been all over this story. Good enough to jump board with us for a couple of minutes. Yo, dude, how are you?
Good, Matt. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Okay, is this thing dead?
It's more dead probably than last week. I think there was a big push to get this across the line before the Senate took a 5-week break. When you have a break like that, it gives a lot of people, a lot of special interest groups, a lot of critics in general time to pick apart the bill. And I think it's going to be more difficult probably to get it passed after the break. But you never know. I don't think it's completely dead. I think you'll see some modifications to the bill in an effort to try to get it passed in September.
Okay, what happened?
Well, surprisingly enough, the bill, which most people would say is, sort of like NCAA conference friendly and more influenced by Republicans, had a problem with Republicans. That's where the problem was. They didn't have enough Republicans on board to even get to the point where you're polling Democrats. It needed 60 votes to pass, and it may have had the 60, Matt, but it needed unanimous consent, and this gets real complicated, but it needed unanimous consent to waive certain time limitations to get the bill to the floor when they wanted to on Friday or Saturday this past weekend. And there were too many objections to that consent from Republicans. There were over 10 objections and amendments, mostly from Republicans. So a lot of folks thought the pushback would have been on the Democratic side, and there was pushback there, but the objections first came from the Republican side for a variety of reasons, one of which was the expansion proposal that's in the bill that makes it a little more difficult for, say, ACC programs to move to the SEC. It requires a probationary period of 5 years to operate as an independent if you're going to move within a power league. So so that's one thing, folks want changed. Tommy Tuberville brought an amendment about transgender men participating in women's sports, right? That was sort of an issue raised. And there were a litany of other things from the Republican side.
As I understand, the transgender piece of that, the concern was that would have affected potentially Title IX. Is that right?
Yeah, there were some Title IX implications with that, and there were some Title IX implications in some other parts of the bill too, or questions. And there were a lot of facets of the bill that were sort of picked apart by Republicans. And this, for 5 weeks now, it gives everybody more time to do that.
Okay. Ross Dellenger is with us at Ross Dellenger, Yahoo Sports, Protect College Sports Act. It's put on hold, as Ross mentioned, until September, 5 weeks. So it felt like after the Big Ten and the SEC gave their approval, it was going to push it across the line for approval. So why didn't that have the effect many of us thought it would?
Yeah, that's right. I think when the Big Ten and SEC gave their support a week before that, the 2 Fridays ago, there was a thought that that would be enough. I thought that. I definitely thought that was going to be enough. And let me be clear. I think there was mainly a belief that they would have the 60 votes for passage, or around the 60 votes. The problem is, again, the waiving of the time constraints, the way the Senate calendar fell. Basically, Matt, when you want to vote on a bill, there are like 4 steps. And basically, it takes like 4 days for these steps to materialize, unless you get unanimous consent to waive those time steps and just go immediately to a vote. Mm-hmm. And that's what they couldn't get. So that was an issue because there were so many objections and amendments. They couldn't get the time waived. But, another issue was Senate Majority Leader John Thune would prefer 70-plus votes for the bill. That way you send it to the House having passed by a significant margin, and that kind of brings some pressure on the House and the House of Representative leadership to take it seriously. And we know the House's leadership is from there in Louisiana, Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise, and they have problems with the bill. Steve Scalise has been public about that. So I think John Thune wanted a bigger vote margin than he was going to get last week, and that also sort of led to the collapse of the bill.
Okay, Ross, I'm going to ask you this is a very arbitrary question. So I'm not like holding your feet to the fire. I'm trying. You've covered this closer than anybody. Give me a percentage chance. Like, what percentage chance, as of today, do you think this passes in September?
When the SEC and Big Ten gave their support, Matt, I thought that it had a 50-50 chance of passing Congress.
I thought you would have said higher than that.
No, I thought it was about a coin flip or so once they gave their support. I think it was 30-ish% before they gave their support. Okay. I think it's kind of back to 30%.
Okay.
I think it's kind of back. It's kind of dropped down to 30%.
Okay.
And a lot of that is because the House is pretty unpredictable, and House leadership has spoken publicly against the bill.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions then. Number 1 is, what needs to happen between now and September? Like, is there a specific piece of the bill that needs to change? Whatever. What needs to happen between now and September to pass the Senate?
I think modifications have to be made to several provisions, including the expansion provision of the bill,
which would allow would allow leagues to
Mm-hmm.
expand, right? Effectively.
Yeah. Right now, there's like an anti-expansion provision to the bill, and it's twofold. One, it caps power conference membership at 19 schools, which means the SEC could add 3 and the Big Ten could add 1.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, the second concept is if a program that's in a power league wants to move to another power league, so a good example would be Clemson to the SEC, say.
Yeah. Clemson, Florida State, Miami.
Yeah, they'd have to operate for 5 years as an independent. It's like a probationary period.
Yeah.
That was an issue. Obviously, that's an issue for the Clemsons and Miamis and Florida States of the world. and they put pressure on their lawmakers, especially the Florida senators, to stand against the bill.
Okay. Last thing. If it doesn't pass in September and the Protect College Sports Act dies, then what?
Well, I think the SEC is down the road on trying to create their sort of take the NCAA's rules that governs all of the NCAA and bring it down to just the conference level and enforce and create rules and enforce rules at just the conference level. And that's like a self-governance type of concept that in theory will evade more legal challenges and antitrust challenges. So the idea is the SEC's govern a smaller group of programs as opposed to the NCAA's 350. And that way the SEC can better and more easily create rules. So they could create their one-time transfer rule within the league. They could create 5-year eligibility within the league, ban pro players. They could create their own cap and restrictive cap on athletes in the league. So that's sort of the idea, and I think that's probably the way it will go.
Yeah. Then each league, in theory, has their own set of rules, which could differentiate from one league to the next.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the big question is, if each of the leagues play by different rules and enforce their rules differently, do they all keep playing together competitively? And the SEC administrators, including several of the sitting presidents in the league, have spoke publicly that they think the SEC should not just break away from a governance perspective, but should also break away from a competitive perspective too, and just play themselves.
Yep.
And so that's certainly an idea on the table.
And we'll have one league, just one really, really big league, which feels like an inevitability at this point. Okay, Ross Dellenger, we'll continue to follow. Make sure you follow Ross at Ross Dellenger. Do an awesome job with this. He's over at Yahoo, which you can always read for free. We appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay. Yeah. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by FMOL Health, Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. FMOLhealth.org/LSU. Told you plenty about the great NIL deals that Our Lady of the Lake has done with Lane Kiffin and Jordan Seaton and Sam Levitt and Whit Weeks and Trey'Dez Green. They have 23. I'm so fired up about this, by the way. They have 23 NIL athletes, and today we finalized the list in the interview schedule. We will have all 23 LSU football players that have NIL deals with Our Lady of the Lake on AFR starting the week before the Clemson game. So very excited about bringing you those conversations throughout this LSU football season. And, of course, I love telling you about my story with Our Lady of the Lake. Went in, was having stomach pain on Friday. Went to see my primary care physician at the Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Clinic. Thanks to Dr. Tyler Boudreau. Got me over to the ER. Ended up having an appendectomy. Everyone was awesome. I trusted my emergency health care to the lake. Whatever you have going on, you can trust the lake as well. Heart, stroke, cancer, pediatrics, they have it all at Our Lady of the Lake. FMOLhealth.org/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together, we roar. I guess the conversation we're about to have is sort of a sister conversation to the one we just had. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill is going to be with us. She has been involved in the Protect College Sports Act conversation. She also just recently, her office set forth a new NIL athlete agent registry. So we'll talk about that. And I do want her opinion on the governor and Dr. Wade Roos's plan that they set forth for the top 40 donors last week. We'll get to all that with Liz Murrill next on AFR.
AFR.
Rev Fiber, R-E-V, RevFiber.com, proud partner of LSU Athletics. Matter of fact, if you're watching any LSU press conference throughout the course of this season, take a look at the mic flag. That's the logo on the microphone. It's called a flag, the mic flag, and you'll see the Rev Fiber logo. So Lane Kiffin's press conference, you'll see it right there, Rev Fiber. They're a proud partner of LSU Athletics, but Rev Fiber has been a proud community partner for 90 years, 90 years serving South Louisiana. RevFiber.com. Lightning fast internet speeds up to 5 gigs. Great local customer service. Internet, home automation, security, cable, phone for your home or your business. revfiber.com. R-E-V, revfiber.com is where you can go to learn more about their upfront pricing and how you can save money on your internet, cable, phone, automation, security, all of it. R-E-V, revfiber.com. LAinsurance.net, better coverage for less money. That's what you get at Insurance Network of Louisiana. LAinsurance.net. Our friends over at Insurance Network of Louisiana, they're awesome, and they help you save money on your insurance every single month for your home or for your auto. LAinsurance.net, LAinsurance.net, and your business. Remember, if you're a business owner, like you have commercial auto insurance, maybe it's workers' comp. You have plenty of different work-related insurance policies. What if you could save money every single month on your insurance coverage? Let Insurance Network of Louisiana shop independently for free to see if they can find you better coverage for less money. 293-0450, 293-0450, 293-0450, or LAinsurance.net. It's Insurance Network of Louisiana, online at LAinsurance.net.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
All right, glad to have you rolling along with us here on a Hump Day edition of AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We always appreciate our friends over at Goodwood. You want to feel your best, they can help. Yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. Check them out. Lowest prices, never any contract. Yourgoodwood.com. All right, Attorney General Liz Murrill is going to join us here in just a quick second. The state of Louisiana and the AG's office has just opened up a new portal for NIL and athlete agents, for agents to go register. So I want to get AG Liz Murrill's opinion and thought behind that whole process, also the Protect College Sports Act, and certainly want to get her opinion as well on the presentation by the governor and Dr. Wade Roos on the future of the fund. Forgive me, I'm trying to wait for Attorney General Murrill to call. I'm trying to text her as well. The whole presentation there, because part of what Dr. Roos had said and the governor had said was they were waiting on an opinion from the IRS and from the AG's office. So I'll ask the Attorney General here in just a quick. All right, she said the line is busy. We may need to call her. So here, come take this number. Please hurry. Someone come take this. Here. Thank you. Okay, all right, never mind. We just got her through. All right, it's after further review. My apologies for that. Just juggling some things there here off air. Thank you. We're good. We appreciate Attorney General Liz Murrill for joining us here on the show for a couple of minutes. Liz, thank you for the time. How are you?
Yep. You there, Matt?
Yep. Gotcha. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Look, juggling a few balls there to make that happen. Yep. We appreciate you for taking the time. I know you're in Florida, so thanks for squeezing us in right now. Okay. Your office opened up a portal for athlete agents in the new NIL era. Let's walk through the thought process behind why this was necessary.
Yeah, so this year the legislature passed some new legislation that expands on, I think, something started last year that requires agents to register with my office if they are representing athletes in our state. And last year they started it. All the registration was on paper at that time. This year we have moved it all to a portal that is accessible through my website at www.aglizmurrill.com. Under the Public Protection tab, and that's where all the agent registrations are visible. So you can go there now and click on the tab and see all the agents who've registered so far when the law became effective on August 1st.
So it's interesting as you can actually look at this registry, Liz, and I can see agents that have registered. I don't mean to be disrespectful for this guy. That looks like a mugshot, to be honest with you. I mean, but so every agent puts their name, their photo, maybe who they're with. How many agents have registered so far?
So about 300 have registered so far. Some of those are still in the vetting process because you do have to undergo a background check. So there is there's a little bit of a delay, but I mean, right now the delay is less than a week.
Okay.
And so we move them pretty quickly once you give us all the information or the agent gives us all the information that we request. And so it doesn't take very long to go live. And we had over 200 before the law was actually effective on August 1st.
Interesting. It's like, as I look through this, I mean, like, there's Drew Rosenhaus, who's a very notable and well-known sports agent who's on there. And then there's attorneys and not other folks who maybe people haven't heard of. Why did your office feel this was necessary?
I think the legislature felt it was necessary last year when they started this process, but exempted lawyers. And I saw no reason for a lawyer to be exempt. If a lawyer is representing someone as an athlete agent, then they should have to register too. So that was kind of a gigantic loophole that we needed to close. But I think it's important that the athletes themselves be able to look and get some basic information. These basic protections that are in place require some training on the law in Louisiana for these agents. So we want to make sure that they basically understand what is required of them as an agent in Louisiana. We've also created a mechanism for complaints to be filed with our office. So we're just trying to create a foundation of public protection for these athletes. And it's pretty minimal. There's no cap on their fees. That's something you and I have talked about might come into effect under federal law. But right now across the nation, some states have caps, some states don't. And it's really kind of the wild, wild west when it comes to athlete agency. And it's going to be especially problematic, I think, with high school students.
Okay, I'm glad you went there. That was literally going to be my next question, because certainly we think of it in context of these college athletes making big-time NIL and rev share contract deals. I would assume these are protections here for high school athletes as well. So how do the high school athletes factor into this whole conversation?
Well, for starters, if they're under the age of 18 or minors who really have no authority to contract at all, and so that would be some basic contracting and I think financial literacy that we would want them to understand. You can't go buy a car if you're 17. Your parents have to actually sign that contract, and or somebody that's authorized to contract has to sign the contract. So there are a lot of things that we would have concerns about with regard to minors, even young adults. We want to make sure that they understand what it means to have someone represent you as your agent, and whether they can bind you to the terms of that contract. And so even a parent who's representing their child in an agency capacity as an agent, a legal agent of their child, that's different. If they're 18, then they're an agent. If they're 16, they're a parent.
Okay, interesting. So would a parent representing their child still have to go through this portal?
So maybe it depends.
Okay.
So I think that, I think parents have rights as parents, right? And if I want to, I'm going to go look out for my child's best interest. And we have lots of parents who represent their children kind of, I would say, more loosely in terms of their agents if they're actors. You have a lot of rights as a parent to protect the interests of your child. But once that child turns 18, they have the ability to contract on their own. And so at that point, if you represent your child as their agent, you have to register.
Okay. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill is with us here. Are other states doing the same thing?
They are. Now, they aren't all doing exactly the same thing that we are doing, but there are a lot of states that are setting up registration requirements, and that will satisfy federal law under the current draft of the Protect College Sports Act. So, we're gonna see some matching up with state laws, I think, when we see the federal law go into effect, because it does recognize and approve of this agent registration, and it allows states to regulate that. And so it's building, I think, some matching up with the NCAA and with federal law, so that we can maximize what states are doing in protecting people in their states from what might not be very ethical or legal conduct of individuals. So you want to create a baseline in your state for what's legal conduct, a state gets to do that.
All right, so it's interesting to me that you just said when federal law goes into effect.
Yeah.
We just spoke with Ross Dellenger. I'm not sure if you know Ross, but he works for Yahoo and does a fantastic job and has been all over the Protect College Sports Act. Like he was just on the show right before you were. He's very skeptical that the Protect College Sports Act gets passed in September. Are you, or are you more confident that federal legislation is going to get done?
Look, my opinion, his opinion is probably worth more than mine on this particular subject, but I tend to think as a political matter that something probably will get done. There has been a lot of disagreement about the language of that act. And, up until fairly recently, LSU was opposed to it. I think most of the big SEC, the whole SEC conference was opposed to it. And then that changed. So now they aren't opposed to it. And I think the Big Ten also said they support it. The president supports it. He's pressing to get something on his desk quickly. I have some concerns about some ambiguity as it relates to women's sports. And I think they ought to fix that before they pass it so that we're not stuck in litigation for another decade over what a woman is. But I think all things considered, there's a lot of good things in the act. And so I think there's a lot of pressure to get it passed because we do need some parity across the country, I think, here. There's a cap on agency fees in it right now in the draft. And probably a lot of agents who don't want to see that, but I think that that's something that a lot of people do want to see because we don't want to see agents driving kids to Texas just because their agent fee is going to be higher in Texas or Oklahoma or somewhere else, or not capped at all in another state.
I'm glad you brought up agent fees because that's one of the notes I'd written down. So, Liz, I know a lot of agents. Just doing my job, it's just you just get to know a lot of them over the years. And it was interesting to me that early in NIL, a lot of agents who have dealt with pro sports where they might be capped at 3% were doing more NIL deals because some of them were charging up to 20%. Right. And so they'd rather do these deals where they could get 20% instead of their 3% in pro sports.
Look, think about lawyer fees. Contingency fees for a lawyer that goes to trial are 40%. If you don't go to trial, it's 33%. That's standard across the plaintiff lawyer industry. Like, I think you will see higher fees as this continues. And if you look at, that's why we were worried about high school athletes. I mean, if you talk to Coach Curtis, he's going to show you some contracts where agents are trying to get student athletes in high school, some of them as young as sophomores or freshmen in high school, to sign contracts that attach someone to paying fees to this agent for the rest of their career. I mean, it's pretty egregious stuff, when, now that student is going to get more, that athlete is going to get smarter and better about their own contracting as time goes by, but they're being taken advantage of the younger they are and where they're not yet sophisticated negotiators in this space.
I'm a little short on time. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill is with us. Again, if you want to go see the NIL athlete registration page, the portal, maybe you're an agent or you're a parent who's inquiring, you want to learn more, it's aglizmurrill.com. aglizmurrill.com is where you can go to find out more about the NIL athlete agent registry portal. Before you go, one of the things that the governor and Dr. Roos talked about with their meeting with the boosters in the top 40, which I know you were at one of the meetings, was that they needed an opinion from the IRS and the AG's office. Okay, well, you're the AG, so I'm going to ask you, what's your opinion on the plan?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you for starters, there's no legal reason they need an opinion from me. I think they want one from me, but they don't have to get one from me. And I'm happy if they want me to look at the documents and kind of, give them some approval of them. I do think that's a good thing. So far, I haven't seen the details, and that matters, right? Whatever they put on paper is what's binding. So I want.
Do you think that would be different than what you saw in the meeting?
No, I don't. But all I saw was high level, and high level, I haven't seen anything that I don't think is legal. So, but I do, reserve judgment to see it written down.
Okay, but based on, so I don't want to assume, but so based on what you heard in the meeting last Monday at the governor's mansion, you think that the structure, that Dr. Roos and the governor put forward is thumbs up A-OK?
Well, so far I do, and I don't right now. I would compare it to some of the kinds of structures they've already created at LSU and other universities to deal with sharing revenue streams related to intellectual property. So this is not new to the higher ed system and to LSU in particular to create an affiliated entity and then have it share rights or hold rights of the university and then to kind of share the revenue in a way that I don't think that anything I've seen is prohibited by the law. It's going to be more of a policy decision than it is going to be, I think, a legal prohibition.
Okay. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill joining us here for a couple minutes on the show. We appreciate you making time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great to be with you, Matt.
Thank you. It is After Further Review. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Relief Windows, proud partner of LSU Athletics. By the way, I just saw, as I was scrolling social media a little bit before we came on the air, if you go follow any of the Relief Windows social media pages, Brandon Holly shooting some new TV spots in Tiger Stadium. Of course, as a proud partner of LSU Athletics, you have access to all the different facilities and all the marks and everything like that. So if you're watching, there's Brandon in Tiger Stadium with the big video board lit up with the Relief Windows logo. Very cool. So go check it out. Any of the Relief Windows social media pages, go check out some of those photos. Relief Windows, ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. Relief Windows, ReliefWindows.com. All right, it's After Further Review. Thanks to Ross Dellenger. Thanks to Liz Murrill. Ross Jackson will be with us at the top of Hour 3 for a Saints camp report. We will let you hear from Kellen Moore in about 15 minutes from right now. Let me knock out a break, come back and wrap up Hour number 1 next.
After Further Review.
If you need to hire, you need Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com. glowresources.com. They are complete employer solutions over at Glow Resources. And when you go to the website, it's interesting because I say it all the time. They're based in Baton Rouge, but they help businesses all over the country, all over the world. And if you look at the careers page, I mean, they have all different types of jobs in all different types of places. They're looking for an HR generalist in Caruthersville, Missouri. They're looking for a controller in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a laborer in Loxahatchee, Florida, a skilled laborer in Salt Lake City, Utah, a foreman in Port St. Lucie, Florida, a welding instructor in Ashland City, Tennessee. They're even looking for, a COO that they're looking for in certain locations, a driver in Zachary. Point is, if you're a business owner, you need to hire, you need the right people to be the most efficient, you need Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com.
Water is water, right? Not when it's Evermore. Smooth-tasting Evermore water is Mother Nature's masterpiece. Evermore is natural artesian water. Maybe you want a healthier lifestyle, a high-end athlete who wants better hydration, or a parent who wants something healthier for their kids. You want Evermore. EVAMOR. Evermore. Available at great local retailers.
I'm Ascension Parish Sheriff Bobby Weber. Keeping our community safe is our mission, and Rev Fiber plays a critical role in how we respond. Whether it's training our special divisions, forensics investigations, or fielding emergency calls in our operations center, Rev Business connects our teams in real time. We receive incredible bandwidth and a reliable, redundant network.
Get 6 months free of Rev Business Services. Visit revfiber.biz. Some restrictions apply.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Wrapping up hour number 1. We can file this under, oh, hell no! A high school student in Maumelle, Arkansas was at football practiced for nearly an hour when he started to notice something moving in his helmet. This is an honest-to-goodness true story. The AP has reported it. KATV has reported this happened. So the student takes off his helmet. There's a friggin' 2-foot snake in his helmet. How is this even possible? Now, the kid escaped being bitten. There it is right there. He's sitting there at practice. He alerts a coach. They come over. They notice this friggin' 2-foot cottonmouth is in the pads of the helmet. Now, they tried to get the freaking snake to come out. He wouldn't. Dude was cozy, comfy in there. He's up in the pads. So they throw it in water, thinking it'll come out. Well, apparently cottonmouth is a water moccasin. I don't know this. I don't do snakes. To me, the best kind of snake is a dead snake. I see a snake, that snake dying. It's dead. I don't care if it's a little baby snake, a big old python, you're going to die. If you're a snake, you come near me. But there it is. They're trying to submerge. They throw the helmet in the water, trying to get him. Like, there he is. They're catching him. This is an honest to goodness true thing. Look at that son of a bugger. Freaking 2-foot snake in his helmet. Kid got a new helmet, continued practicing. And the freaking animal services people who came out released the freaking snake in the woods. Bro, I'm taking my helmet and I'm like bashing that son of a bugger right in the head. He ain't living another second to get out there and try to bite somebody. Freaking snake in a helmet. A couple years ago, we talked about a snake getting loose at the zoo. I was like, burn them all down. I'm at the zoo at the Blue Zoo at the mall. I'm like, burn them all down. Burn them all down. Burn it to the ground. Freaking snake in a helmet. Hour 2 next.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Rouse's. No snakes at Rouse's, thank God. What they do have is the Grill Up Game Day giveaway. Get this, y'all. 6 winners are going to receive a Monument Grill Mesa Series 5 burner gas grill with a side burner, a Johnsonville sausage prize pack with 6 packs of fresh sausage and brats, all courtesy of Rouse's and Johnsonville. Grill Up for game day. If you want to enter, go to rouses.com/grill giveaway or just go to Rouse's or just go to rouses.com or any of those social media. You'll see the link of how you can enter. Rouses.com. If you want to enter to win right now in the Grill Up Game Day giveaway, courtesy of Rouse's. 72 locations from Lake Charles to Orange Beach and points in between. Rouses.com. Official supermarket of the Saints, Rouse's.